Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be giving you a spoiler-free review of Venom, There Be Carnage. I'm also going to be giving you guys a full spoiler review for tomorrow, and that's going to go way more in depth because this movie actually does have a ton of spoilerly type things within it that I wanted to kind of give you guys a chance to watch the video even if you haven't seen the movie yet, which is why I'm doing this separate video because it just came out. I'm sure a lot of you might not be seeing it right away, and maybe you want to know whether or not you should go see it because maybe you're not a big fan of these movies and you just want to kind of get a general idea as to what it's about so you can make the decision of if you should go see it or not. And yeah, let's just talk about it. So if you guys don't know, this was one of my most anticipated movies of 2021. It was actually my second most anticipated movie, with the number one most anticipated being Spider-Man No Way Home. Obviously, that just proves to you I'm a big fan of Spider-Man, absolutely love the character, love a lot of the stuff within these Spider-Man villains, and Carnage has always been one of my favorites. I've played a lot of the older Spider-Man games, I've played or seen some of the comics and the cartoons, and Carnage has always been one of my favorites. I just think the brutality of this character, Cletus Kasady being this absolute psychotic serial killer, those type of characters interest me. You know, you have different types of villains. You have the more like calm, chill villains, and you have the ones that just go absolutely crazy like this. You have villains that you can kind of feel sympathetic for at times, but Cletus is not one of those villains. This man, there is no sympathy for him. There's a little bit of like depth there that they kind of focus on in the movie, but as a whole, he's just a maniac, right? He's a serial killer who's killed many innocent people. So you automatically fear him, and when he gets Carnage, I mean, he is frightening. Everything about this character I loved, and that was one of the most, to me, exciting parts of this movie, especially after finding out that Woody Harrelson was going to be playing him. And yeah, so let's just get to the pros and the cons, and at the very end, we'll give a final rating out of 10 for the movie. Starting off with the pros, I would say probably one of the better things about the movie, also one of the better things about the first movie, is the relationship between Eddie and Venom. It was so much fun to watch. Tom Hardy is incredible at pretty much every role I've seen him in personally. I mean, one of my favorite roles from him was from Inception, but he did a fantastic job in this movie playing this character who's practically in this relationship with this symbiote. It's not just me saying that, like, they do a lot of metaphors to making them seem like a couple, and they have these, you know, tons of couple bickering and stuff throughout the movie. And it's fun to watch. Some of the humor for it doesn't exactly land the way I was hoping it would, but it's still fun, and there's some funny scenes there. They did that a lot in the first one, and this one, they go even harder with it, and there's some actual, like, straight up, they're trying to show that they have this relationship like couple between the two of them. It's not an actual relationship, but it feels like it, and it's really fun to watch and to see them kind of develop through this movie. And they have a lot of development, these two characters, because they are separate characters. I mean, yes, they're one, you know, together when they're combined, but at the same time, they have different personalities, they have different consciousnesses, really. So it's just a lot of fun to see them bicker between each other. And you even have Carnage bickering with Cletus at some scenes, and that's fun to watch. And they have a completely different relationship going on between the two of them, and it's fun to see. The next positive about the movie is Cletus Kasady and Carnage in general. Like I said before, fucking love this villain. Now, not only do I love, you know, his comic side, but I think they do a pretty good job with him here. I mean, Woody Harrelson does a fantastic job in most of the roles I've seen him in, and he plays a really good serial killer here. Some really creepy moments with him, and I really enjoyed what they were doing with him. For the most part, I just wish we saw more of him, and that's really just the fact that the movie was a little too short for my liking, and we'll talk about that in the cons. I think they could have had even more with him, because some of the scenes you can tell they felt like they were either just rushed or cut short. Like there was more to it and they kind of cut it in post-production. It felt like that. I feel like there was definitely some extended scenes that you could have had. There definitely could be an extended cut of this movie out there somewhere, and I really hope there is, because that'd be pretty cool to see, because there's at least 20 minutes I'm sure this movie probably has extra that has some of these scenes, because some of the scenes felt really fast. And again, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But as a whole, I love the look of Carnage in this one. He looks very comic accurate, and he looks menacing, he looks insane, he looks different enough from Venom so you can tell him apart. One of my issues with the first one is that Riot, although Riot was kind of cool, he looked exactly like Venom. He did. They looked so similar, even in color. I mean, it was a little bit different with the gray, but when they were fighting, I mean, it was impossible to tell who was who at some points, you know, but this is very clearly Carnage. And the red looks great. It's a great color. I wish they had some daytime scenes with him, though. It's not really a spoiler, but like I kind of wish they showed more of him at the day, because he was pretty much only being shown at nighttime, which I guess fits more with his character. But I would like to have seen how that looked in daytime. That would have been pretty damn cool. Another thing I really liked about the movie was Shriek. So Shriek was this character I wasn't really expecting to be that important to the story, but she actually kind of was. Saw her in the trailer. I was like, okay, that's cool. Let's see what she can do in here. But her effectiveness in the story is actually pretty important because of her connection with Cletus. And I think they utilize her well because she has this ability where she's able to scream really loudly. And that's works really well with these symbiotes because that's one of the only like downsides of these symbiotes is that loud sounds like that, like high-pitched sounds, you know, mess with them. And it makes it so they kind of go out of their symbiote form and they have to go back into, you know, not appearing. And they play with that a lot in this movie, and I think they do a good job with it. So it made sense to have a character like her involved in this. And I like most of what they did with her. I didn't think she was the most interesting character in the world, but for what she had to offer, I thought it was good. The involvement with the characters of Anne and Dan were also pretty good in my opinion. These are two characters that a lot of people didn't really give a shit about in the first one. I kind of liked it though. I like when movies do this sort of a thing where it's like this character that used to be in a relationship with the main character and then they go off and then they, you know, have a better relationship with someone else, and they don't like forcefully get them back together like a lot of movies do, where it's like, oh, let's have this character who seems completely fine get shit on because our main character wants to have the girl back. But no, Dan is like involved in it nicely, and I just like their involvement in the story in this one. I'm not going to go in depth as to what their involvement is, but I like that they're involved in it because it actually gives some more weight to some of these scenes, because obviously, you know, we're not too worried about Venom or Eddie Brock dying. We're not really worried about him dying. We're not really worried about, you know, Cletus dying in these main battles. We're just kind of worried these other characters, and the only way they can do that is if they include them and stuff, and that's why I'm kind of glad they did. And the last thing I want to say, and this one is going to kind of, you know, go into the negatives a little bit because I'm not too sure if this is a good or a bad thing. The movie was really fast. Like I said before, it was really fast. It was pushing through the story like insanely quick. Some people like that though. That's why I don't really know if it's a positive or a negative. For me, it's a positive sometimes, but then other times it's a negative. If I want to see more of the story, if I want it to be expanded upon, then it becomes a negative. But if I really was happy with how it was played out and I didn't think there needed to be any more, then I would say it's a positive. But this is a situation where I think some of the movie I wanted to see a lot more, and some of it I was like, okay, that's okay that way. It played out fine. It worked out nicely, but I think this movie should have been longer. I do think. I think most people were agreeing with that even before it even came out. They were like, oh, this shouldn't be that short. It should be longer. And I was saying, like, we don't really know. We'll have to watch the movie to find out if it feels like it needs to be longer or not. And after watching it, yes, I think it needs to be a little bit longer, just a little bit. I think some of the scenes could have been extended, and that's about it, because it felt like it was moving so fast. It was like one scene, the next scene, like I went with my friend, he went to the bathroom for like just a minute, and he missed like 20 different things. I was like, dude, you missed a lot in that 1 minute. He went to the bathroom, and he's like, what? So yeah, that's just a testament to the fact that it was moving really fast, which some people love that because they don't want to be sitting and watching a movie for hours upon hours. But for a movie like this, I wanted more. The next con I have is some of the action, right? I like some of the shots. Some of the shots were great. I think it has the same problems as the first one, where the CGI is really great on Venom and Carnage, but when they throw it all together with these big action scenes, it's kind of hard to tell what the hell is going on. Like, it reminds me of Transformers, some of those movies, where sometimes when these big, you know, CGI monsters get into these fights, you just like, what's going on? Like, things are getting thrown that way, the camera shots are flying out, a lot of cuts and stuff, and some of the action was great, don't get me wrong. Some of it was like, you're going too fast. You know, the human eye can't catch with all this. And it's not just me, I heard some other people saying this as well. I loved a lot of the action, but it's just, some of it just should have been, to me, shot a little bit better. And I know it's so hard because you're not, you know, when you're fighting with like people, it's a little bit different. You could definitely shoot that a lot easier, but when you have these big CGI monsters, it's like, you gotta make it look real while also making it look clear to us. And I guess it's kind of hard to do, especially with monsters like this that are like slimy goo monsters. You know, they're not like solids really, they're like liquidy solids, and it's just weird shit. Some of it worked really well, but some of it I feel like I said, just kind of hard to see what was going on. Well, you could tell what was going on, but it was just like, it wasn't as impactful because it wasn't as crisp to the eye, I guess I should say. It's a weird way to put it, but I think you have to watch the movie to really know what I mean. And last thing I want to say in the negatives is, like I said before, some of the humor doesn't really land all that well. not all of it really needs to land. There's some humor where you can tell they're trying to be funny, but at the same time, it's not really like it needs to be funny. It's just entertaining. There's, you know, the type of humor where it's like, you know, it's funny. You might smile watching it. You're not going to die out laughing, but you're having fun watching it. That kind of humor is very present in this movie, where you're kind of just sitting there like, you know, because it's funny stuff. It's just, it's not going to make me laugh. You know what I mean? But there was a couple scenes that did make me laugh, and that's always great. I definitely think it had some good humor to it, which, I mean, I'm not really here for a comedy, so I don't really need it to have great humor or anything. But when they have a lot of moments where they're clearly trying to be funny, I think it really does help a lot if it actually lands as being funny. And I think actually the last thing I want to say, even beyond that thing that I just said, because I just realized this, I wish it was R-rated, right? So I said this before, and a lot of people say that doesn't really matter, it's fine just the way it was. I don't really think it is, because if you were to make this R, you would be able to show a lot more of the brutality of Carnage, and he was brutal in this one, but I wanted him to be so much more brutal. I wanted to see, and this is just, you know, the horror movie lover part of me here, but I wanted to see him literally the action of killing people. I wanted to see it, and a lot of the times it was kind of off screen, because to me, when you show him actually doing it, it does add to the fear that you're supposed to feel in him, and he was fearful. He was a fearful villain to watch. But if they actually showed him brutally killing people in this movie, I think there would have been a little bit more to it, and I would have been a little bit more attached to the story. But even without that, even with them being held back by being PG-13, I thought this was a damn good movie. So I'm going to give it a rating of an 8.2 out of 10, which an 8.2 out of 10, if you guys don't know my scoring, how this works, a 0 to 10 is an absolute garbage movie that has absolutely no positives to it at all. I probably have never given a movie a 0 out of 10, never will. 5 out of 10 is average. It's just as good as it is bad, really. There's just as many positives as there are negatives. It's very average. And then 7 out of 10 would be like, yeah, it's a good movie. 8 out of 10 is when you start to get to really good movies. 9 out of 10 like the great movies, and 10 out of 10s, which is very rare. Usually just give like a 9.5, something higher than that. I probably wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10, because 10 out of 10 to me is like perfect. And there's really no perfect movies out there. There's always some issues. But as you get closer to that, that's like the masterpiece type movies that are just insanely good. This is close to being a pretty great movie. I just think it's a pretty good movie, and that's completely fine. It doesn't have to be the best thing ever. I do think because it was my second most anticipated movie of this year, it was definitely a little bit more disappointing than most people because of that. I know most people probably weren't that excited for this, but I was. So therefore, it kind of dropped a little bit just because of the fact that I had such high excitement for it. But it was still great. It doesn't have to meet my expectations to still be a great movie to watch. And let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'm going to be giving a spoiler full review later tomorrow. That's going to be really fun. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I'll see you on my next one. Peace out.